Good afternoon to those of you joining us from the East Coast. Welcome to our webinar on the 5 essentials to consider when automating accounts payable, brought to you by AMI, the paperless company. Thank you for waiting, and we will now start the webinar. So during today's webinar, we're going to discuss how you can take advantage of accounts payable automation to basically minimize cost per invoice, boost departmental transparency without investing in an overkill automation software. And let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Diana Sabatellian, and I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator at AMI, where our goal is to help our clients increase profits by simplifying work and eliminating paper-intensive business processes. George, if you could switch that to the next slide, I'd like to go over some housekeeping items. So please make sure to enter your audio PIN if you are dialing in and are not using your computer audio. Also, make sure to mute yourself just in case to avoid background noise. And to interact with us, you may raise your virtual hand to ask an audio question by clicking on the little hand icon at the corner over there. And you can also write your comments or questions throughout the presentation in the Questions tab on your GoToWebinar control panel. And feel free to take notes if you wish, but the webinar will be recorded and can be shared with the interested attendees along with the slide deck itself. Now, all right, our speaker today is George Van Darian II, our fearless leader, president and CEO at AMI, the paperless company. George joined the family business in the year 2000 after graduating from USC. He is a certified document imaging architect, ECM practitioner, and a worldwide expert on the topic of business process optimization with a specialty in AP automation. He has architected every automation project for the last decade, serving as in a CTO role, and that also includes large complex projects for Fortune 1000 companies. And his inspiration is drawn from our #1 core value, which is to create customer and employee delight in all aspects of what we do for our clients and staff. And with that said, George, will you do the honor of kicking off today's webinar?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for that generous introduction, Diana. Hello and welcome, everybody. Glad you can be with us. For those of you who have never attended one of our webinars before, let me tell you just a little bit about AMI so you know who I am and the company is, and then we'll dive into the content of the presentation, which is really completely educational in nature. AMI was founded back in '68 by my father, who'd always been in the document business. While our products and services have changed and evolved over the years, our purpose has remained the same, which is every day we set out to help our clients increase their profits and reduce expenses by simplifying work. We do that by eliminating paper out of companies and automating document processes. And over the years, we've developed a sweet spot, a forte, if you will, in AP automation. We've had the great fortune of working with some amazing clients throughout the years and really draw from that experience to deliver this presentation to you today. Anyway, that's just a quick overview. I'll tell you more as we go along. Today, what we're going to cover is what we have here on the agenda. And I'll just kind of tell you a story. When I attended an IAPP meeting, the International Association of Accounts Payable Professionals. It's now called, I think, IOFM. They merged with the AR professionals. Anyway, when I attended a meeting back in 2004, I met Shirley Edmondson, who was the accounting manager at the Yoshinoya restaurant chain at the time. I never expected it would lead us down a fruitful path of 10+ years of consulting companies on how to best handle their AP. Well, it's been a great ride. It's been over a decade, and the journey continues. And we recently asked some of our existing clients and other companies what questions they have about APA, Accounts Payable Automation. And that's how we came up with the content of this educational webinar today. So our goal is really to provide a lot of value in less than an hour on all the benefits, essentials to consider, and also how to reduce your costs, your AP costs by 40%, and how you can do that all in less than 45 days. By the way, Diana and any of the other organizers, if you can just mute, that'd be great. Thank you. what I really want to accomplish today for all of our attendees is really show you how you can be more smarter and more strategic in your financial management. So AP automation has some great benefits, but cash management and really saving money and better utilizing your money is what the name of the game is. So let's dive right into it. Our hope is that you'll find this information so valuable and you'll really like what you hear and you'll want to engage us to perform a consultation or go deeper with an AP assessment. So we typically charge a fee for this, but today we're going to be giving it away to the first 5 attendees that sign up. So stay tuned till the end and I'll give more info. This is really great value. Again, we typically charge thousands of dollars for it. But we're giving it away to the first 5 attendees that sign up. So a little goodie bag for you at the end. Okay, let's start with a quick poll just to get a sense of where our audience is at in their automation journey. Diana, can I ask you to open up the polls? And so the question is, on a scale of 1 to 5, how automated is your AP department? Number 1, call 911, we're drowning in paper. Number 2, hey, we're just scanning at the end of the process. Number 3 is we're automated. We use OCR. We don't do any data entry. Number 4 is on top of that, we have a workflow with automated approvals. And then number 5 is we've totally outsourced our whole accounting AP department. If we can go ahead and the poll should be open. If you can go ahead and just click on the screen and select the number that best describes the situation you're in.
Yep, the poll is in progress. I see a couple of answers coming in already. I'll keep it open for a couple more seconds so everybody has a chance to fill it out.
Okay. So there's a lot of people on the line. If you guys can all participate, just go ahead and click right onto the screen, right next to the number that best describes your situation currently. And if you are having any kind of technical difficulties, if you can't see the screen or if you aren't on the audio or anything along those lines, feel free to chat that in the chat box on the bottom right, and Diana can help get that sorted out.
Victoria, I think you messaged me your response. If you could please navigate over to your GoToWebinar screen and select the appropriate answer, that'll help us just translate the response, because I can't see it on my end.
Okay. Are we ready to close off the polls?
Okay, I will now be closing off the poll. Has everybody had a chance to vote? Alrighty, now let us vote. Okay, let me share our results here. George, can you see the results on the screen?
No.
Really? All right. In that case, we have the majority of people are saying that we need to call 911, and a lot of people are drowning in paper. About 80% of respondents gave that answer. Sorry, you can't see the screen though.
Yeah, I hope the attendees can. It might be because I'm sharing my screen, but I do see the results on the panel. So 80% are, like you said, drowning in paper. Makes sense. That's probably why you're here with us today. And then 20% are at least scanning at the end of the process, and probably you're here because you've been doing that and now you're looking to take it to the next level. So, okay, it sounds like 911 is going to get a lot of calls today. Well, then I think today's presentation should be really valuable for the audience today. So, cool. So let's go ahead and go on. If you can hide the poll. ahead and go to the next screen and just make sure that it is advancing. Can you see my next screen, Diana?
Yes, I can.
Okay, great. So let's take a look at what exactly is AP automation, why do it, and then how to best accomplish your goals. So what is AP automation? I love this slide because this is probably, it looks typical to you. If we do a quick walkthrough of a vendor creates an invoice, they print that invoice, they mail it to you, and then you sort the mail, you route the invoice to the right approver, and then it comes back to AP, it gets coded and approved. You check the budget, you enter it into ERP, you process a payment, and then you file the invoice, right? For 80% of the respondents, this is probably what your process looks like today. So this is what AP automation is. It's cutting out all of those manual steps. And I'm sorry, but we're not able to cut out the steps of the vendor still creating an invoice and you still having to code and approve it. So basically, we've eliminated everything else. Whatever we could eliminate, all of the manual, paper-related steps, we've automated and digitized. And that's basically what a good AP automation system is going to provide you. Sounds simple, right? You might be saying, okay, great, George. Well, how do we get there? And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But first, let's take a look at what the benefits are. I mean, it might seem a little obvious just looking at that slide, but let's put some meat behind the bone. So the common benefits in no particular order is by automating using the system, we're going to speed up invoice processing by cutting out the paper chase. We're going to eliminate errors. Cost reduction is obviously a huge factor. Imagine if you're no longer having to do any data entry on invoices and you've streamlined the approval process where invoices are automatically flowing from one person to the next and coming back to AP when they're ready to pay. That's going to save a ton of money in labor costs. We're eliminating late fees. Sometimes an ROI for a project when we work with a client, the entire ROI they'll get out of just item number 4 and 5, is to eliminate all late fees and to help make sure they're taking advantage of all early payment discounts and even negotiating further discounts with vendors. So you might think you're already capturing all the early payment discounts you can, but once you get a system like this, then we can go back to vendors and then start talking about further early payment discounts because now you know you can deliver on that. From a management standpoint, we gain visibility into the process and find bottlenecks and get the analytics. So, which one of our AP clerks have the highest and lowest productivity as an example. Item number 7, we're able to accrue month-end liabilities because now we actually have all the invoices logged in the system. So we could press a button and see, and that's a kind of a big benefit. And number 8, simplify audits. I mean, this is huge. Boy, auditors love it. You could prepare the prior fiscal year invoices and give auditors access to just what you want them to see or what they requested instead of pulling back boxes from offsite storage and things of that nature. And of course, talking about requests, researching invoices becomes a breeze. There's no more filing cabinets. We just, at a click of a button, even from inside your ERP, you can just click a button and see all the backup. And this isn't just even a comprehensive list of the benefits. This is just some of the key benefits I'm sharing with you today. So what does that look like in terms of from a dollars and cents standpoint? Well, the Aberdeen Group did a study a couple of years ago that looked at the top performers in terms of accounts payable and found that the top performers process invoices 75% faster. They have 80% lower costs and an 80% greater capture rate for available discounts. I mean, these numbers are staggering. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm pretty competitive, and I like to be in the top performer category and certainly like to help my clients be in a top performer category. These are huge. These are not marginal or minimal types of savings or improvements over the competition. So looking at the numbers a little differently, it costs less than half as much per invoice and over 60% as much per check processing manual versus automated. So if you look down the left side, that's a manual invoice cost of $15 and a manual check of $7, which equals $22. And then if you look along the right side, it's an automated way of processing a invoice and a check at $10. So you're basically reducing your cost by over 50%. So again, savings are huge. A lot of companies we find don't even know what it's costing them today. And so if you're wondering this, we have a great white paper that we released in conjunction with one of our partners, AvidXchange, which explains how you can calculate your cost per invoice and what the hidden costs are that you need to consider. So if you want to browse out to this website, either now or later, and I will provide you a link later as well, but it's web, not www, but web.amipaperless.com/CPI, and you can get this calculator workbook. But let's go ahead and keep plugging ahead. Let's look at another area. I mentioned earlier late payments and capturing early payment discounts. And again, this is one of the top reasons. And as you can see here from another study, this one from last year, those are some of the top reasons why companies are wanting to automate. It's a big deal. Okay, so now that we've established what it is and why do it, now let's go ahead and talk about the how. So I know you guys are all salivating, and it's getting on your keyboard. Please contain yourselves, but we'll help kind of navigate through it because it can be complex, and there are a lot of questions to consider. And so hopefully this is going to help. So, well, as a wise inventor once said, everything should be made as simple as possible, but not simpler. And this is one of the foundational, fundamental principles we've adopted in helping companies. Our tagline is simplify work. And so naturally, an automated system is meant to simplify work and not complicate it further. So, Diana, can you make sure the lines are all muted, please? So, I used to think that AP was AP, right? AP is AP is AP. Everybody follows kind of the GAAP standards, has the IRS records. And I'm assuming you guys can hear me. So anyway, what I was saying is I used to think AP is AP is AP. All companies follow the same GAAP and IRS and other mandated procedures for processing payments to vendors. I mean, pretty simple. I bought 10 widgets for $100. I get an invoice, I pay it, and we're all done. Simple, right? But what I found out is that's really not the case. One size does not fit all. The AP departments really have different needs depending on a variety of factors. I apologize for the graphic slide there, but I wanted to get the point across. And really what makes matters worse is there's a lot of what we call clunker systems out there that are AP automation systems that vendors are charging an arm and a leg, and they can tend to be overkill. They're very expensive. The implementations drag out. Many times they fail. So, we've seen a lot of customers have bad experiences. So it's important to make the right selection based on your specific needs. And that's really going to be the meat of the presentation that we're going to dive into now. So the first question to consider, we're going to go through kind of a hit list of, I think, 7 or 8 points on some of the top questions to consider. Number one is, what is the scope of the project? Are we looking at an AP department only, or is this part of a broader enterprise-wide initiative? Are there other departments such as AR, HR, legal, quality, and risk who also have document-related issues that we're trying to solve? Or is this really an AP project only? And so that's the answer to that question is going to drive the type of product you're going to look at. If the scope is for AP only, then you're probably going to get a product that has more AP bells and whistles, let's call it. So it might have something like a supplier portal. It might have something like a payment automation capability so that you're not having to issue checks. Whereas if the scope is broader, you may not get some of those bells and whistles, but you're investing in an enterprise-wide platform that can be used by other departments. And IT might help with that initiative, and it's something that can be standardized on the company, like how your email is standardized, and it's an infrastructure type of system. So the slide here shows the breadth of an enterprise content management product, one that you would look at if you were going to go with an enterprise-wide initiative. The next question to ask is related to your organization's preference for deployment. So a big part of this question is what's IT's availability and the role they're going to play. As much as we all hate to admit it, sometimes AP tends to be the red-haired, left-handed stepchild in the company, right? We get no love. But so sometimes IT has bigger fish to fry, and automating AP is not the most important thing. And so in those cases, the cloud solution is great. It's well accepted. The security's there. It can be implemented quickly. There's no upfront capital expenditure expense, and minimal IT involvement. Whereas typically, if it's a broader enterprise content management initiative, those systems are installed on-premise, meaning on your servers. And so that's the second key consideration. The next thing to do is to get really clear about what your goals and requirements are for the AP department's solution. So what are you really trying to accomplish? Do you have a high number of PO invoices which match at a high percentage? And if so, STP, or straight-through processing, might be one of your goals. So, and I can talk a little bit more about that later. Are you having issues with data entry? And there's a lot of errors, and you're trying to eliminate data entry. Is the issue really around the invoice approval process? So maybe you have 20 or 100 or 500 sites or stores or locations, and getting invoices back from them in a timely manner is really where your problem is at. That's causing all kinds of issues. You're paying late fees. You're not able to capture all the discounts. Or what we saw, we were coming out of a bad economy. What we've seen a lot of is, mandates from the top to reduce costs, where a CFO or CEO will say, hey, we gotta cut labor costs. So getting clear about your SMART goals is something that we help our clients with, in understanding, what really is the priority, because it's easy to start seeing demos and then start comparing features of different software, and then it becomes hard to evaluate, oh, well, they have this blue button and they have this red button. No, you want to be clear about what your goals are and then find the best company that's going to help you solve those goals. The next thing to look at is, and this kind of feeds into the prior question, is to really understand your business, your vendors, and your invoice types and invoice mix. So it's important to figure out what the volumes and percentages are for your number of invoices per month and checks per month. What is the source of your invoices? Are they coming in via paper, email, fax, or EDI? What is your percentage of PO versus non-PO? For the PO invoices, how many match? Do you use a two-way or three-way matching process? And then how do you handle exceptions and discrepancies? All of this is going to drive your requirements and how a solution should handle and adapt and be configured to your process and needs. Next thing is, as it relates to invoice capture, you want to make it as simple as possible for the vendors to submit invoices in multiple ways. So again, we talked about email, portal, EDI, and even paper. And in our case, I'll start to talk a little bit about what we offer is, we have a secret sauce in the whole equation compared to a lot of other kind of software vendors that you might be talking to. And the secret sauce is we operate a secure scanning facility here in LA where we receive invoices invoices on your behalf and scan them into the system, just leaving you with the electronic document. And we never charge for that service, so that's just bundled in as part of any of the solutions you get from us. So, so from there, we capture all the invoices and index it, the header and line item details, because we realize that for a lot of companies, that's a hard step, and garbage in, garbage out. So we do a really good job of getting the invoices into the system. With other companies, you're typically responsible for doing all the scanning and indexing and quality checking, but it's standard with our offering, as I mentioned. In rare cases, clients will tell us for a variety of reasons that they really, really do want to take on the scanning themselves. And if that's the case, no problem. We don't force the issue on anything. We're all about flexibility and giving options. So, we do offer that option as well, but why take on the joys of training and managing that process, right? Anyway, the takeaway from this slide is for you to strongly consider how will the invoices be captured and indexed, and you make sure that the quality is correct, because that's going to be your new system of record. As you no longer have paper files, you're going to have to rely on the digital files, and it's important that the quality is top-notch. Okay, the next thing is the invoice approval strategy. So what we're going to do is we're going to help create multiple approval workflows based on the business rules you stipulate. So these could be based on dollar amount, vendor, location, department. Typically, companies have an approval matrix, and so you might have something in Excel that shows, okay, if it's a merchandise invoice over $10,000, it needs to go to the CFO in addition to all the other chain of approvals. So, so we're able to go ahead and just build that right into the process. Many times a complex or rigid approval matrix is a requirement, especially for our multinational clients who have Sarbanes-Oxley or other multiple regulatory issues to worry about. Other times we can use what we refer to as a simpler push strategy, which says that, if I was going to approve the invoice and then put it on Diana's desk, and for her to approve it, and then it was going to go to John as an example, well, we can still do that in the same electronic system where I approve it and then I select Diana's name, I close it out, and then a second later, Diana gets an email that she has an invoice to approve. Diana approves it, and then as soon as she closes it, it goes to John, and John's in the field, and he can go ahead and pull it up on his mobile phone, on his iPhone or Android phone, and he could just see it right there, securely approve or deny, and then moves on through the process. So where it gets tricky is where clients stipulate a complex approval matrix, but then what we find out is really, in reality, there's a lot of side routes that invoices take. An example is once we had a client that told us, okay, if it's a PO invoice and it has a price discrepancy, it should only go to purchasing for the buyer to resolve it. And so the system was configured that way. But in production, what they found was in reality, over 50% of the time, purchasing doesn't have, the buyer doesn't have the information to resolve that. So the buyer wants to send it to the requester. So they're sending it to marketing to say, hey, why is it actually $10,000 as opposed to $9,000? Or they're sending it to production or to their manager. So this is kind of an important consideration as you think about your actual approval process. I hope I'm not overwhelming you guys. As I mentioned, there's a lot to consider. The next area that we want to think about is payment automation, and to find out how important is this as part of the overall process. So a 2013 study here shows that checks as a form of payment are decreasing, and almost half the survey participants see it very likely to convert from check to electronic. So again, on the left you see that the check payments are going down, and on the right you see that people are very likely to go ahead and convert. And so this is another thing to think about as we have the capabilities so that you can never have to cut another paper check again. So all of that is done electronically. The vendor can receive payment in the format that they want, whether it's ACH, wire. If they really want a check, they could still receive a check, but you're not having to worry about that. That whole process is built into the system. And the really nice thing about it is by being part of the payment network that I'm talking about, you also get rebates, which helps recover the cost of our system. So it helps pay back. So every time you're paying a vendor, you're actually getting a rebate back for a percentage of that payment. And that builds into your ROI. So I hope that makes sense. That's a really important piece there. So that's something for you to think about. Do we want to do payment automation? Maybe you've already automated. Maybe you're already doing ACHs only, and this is not as important to you. Otherwise, again, it's another kind of built-in attribute. So as you can see, there's a lot to consider. There really isn't one size that fits all from any of the available kind of solutions out there. Some vendors offering clunkers, or some vendors want to have you outsource your whole AP department, and they want to take over the whole thing and do it from China or India, and they want to eliminate all employees. We didn't really discuss that today because I don't consider that automation. That's really outsourcing. But we all know labor wages are on the rise in some of those countries, so a lot of those jobs are coming back. So that's really outsourcing. But when we're talking about automation, there's a lot to consider to find out what's really going to be the right solution for you. And fortunately, our company, AMI, has built a suite of products and services to account for all of the needs, requirements, and budgets we've discussed so far. So we offer solutions for AP only, or something that could be part of an enterprise-wide initiative. We offer both cloud and on-premise software. We have solutions for clients that have low to no PO invoices, and the key is matching for straight-through processing, or workflow to deal with a lot of non-PO and exception type of invoices. We offer payment automation for additional savings and flexible implementation, so we can deliver it as a turnkey system and hand you the keys within 45 days, guaranteed. Or work with your IT if your IT wants to really be involved and learn the system, and we could use more of a train-the-trainer approach. And we back everything that we do with 100% money-back guarantee. We call that AMI Assurance, and this is kind of unique. A lot of vendors don't do that. They don't do guarantees, but we have AMI Assurance or 100% money-back guarantee. So all of this has come into play with our clients. We've done various types of projects with various combinations of the solutions that I mentioned. So let's take a look at some case studies. So the first client that I'll talk about, not really able to release their name, but they're a global software company. And in their case, they wanted to manage the approvals within their Oracle EBS system. So they really just wanted us to take care of the capture in that case. It's kind of unique. So they said, hey, we have our workflow system, but we just want you to capture the invoices. We don't want to have to touch paper invoices anymore. So we set up a physical PO box that we check every day, as well as an email account. It's really their email account, but it forwards to us. So anytime a vendor sends it to, let's say ap@customer.com, that comes to us, and also a fax number, which comes to us. So anytime their vendors send them invoices, it comes to us. We capture it, extract the header and line item details, and we have some fancy OCR software that does that automatically. And then we verify that with a human being at the end. So everything you get is a 99 and a bunch of 9% accuracy. And then we upload it into their Oracle system, and then they manage the rest of the process within their Oracle. That's what they wanted. Another example is with Ducommun. Diana, can you make sure that the lines are muted? I'm hearing a little bit of background. So another example is Ducommun. They're a global aerospace company, and they were looking for an AP solution as a part of a broader ECM and BPM initiative So they purchased an on-premise solution, and the interesting thing about them, the reason I decided to include them is that they had made an acquisition of a company that was their size, about a $500 million company. And so they had two companies with two different AP departments, and their goal was to standardize the accounts payable process into one process so management could have complete visibility. You know, they're Sarbanes-Oxley. They didn't want to have two different approval matrices. So, and then lastly, I'm just going to throw out another example where Bakemark, they're a foods distributor, and what they said is we want to take baby steps. So we want to start with just back-end scanning. You know, we really want AP automation, but for now, just come by every Friday. We do our check runs on Thursdays. Come by every Friday, pick up our check packets, scan them, and give it to us electronically in a system that we can have digital access to. So while we want the automation benefits, we just want to start off with document management. We want to save space, make it easier to access, and make it easier for audits. So these are some examples of kind of different paths that you could follow, but the main case study that I want to highlight for today is where we started with Yoshinoya restaurants. Their global headquarters is based out of Japan. You might be familiar. They have the beef and chicken bowls. They use a lot in ERP. And let's take a look at their situation. We do have a case study on this on our website. It's a web.amipaperless.com/Yoshinoya if you want to check that out. And in 2004, they were just confronting an issue that a lot of retailers and restaurant chains are facing, just tens of thousands of invoices and just drowning in paper. Paper was everywhere. They had like 3 different storage areas, on-site and off-site, multiple audits per year between federal, state, county, internal and external auditors. Document retrieval was time-consuming. You know, no real kind of backup for the paper, no disaster recovery, and they had a mandate to reduce costs. So they conducted extensive research to find a solution that would work best for them, and what they decided was to just never touch a piece of paper again. So we receive, scan, and index all their invoices, load them into a cloud-based AP workflow system. Their clerks come in the morning, they go right into their digital inbox, and they just work the queue. So the AP clerk comes in, maybe there's 12 invoices that have come in today, or maybe there's 200 that have come in today. They'll go through them, and they have different queues. So they have PO invoices, non-PO invoices, and they'll go ahead and work it. So if something is ready to be posted and paid, they'll mark it that way. If something is an exception or a discrepancy or a non-PO invoice, they can go ahead and select who it needs to go to, and it goes to that person. And this has worked great for them. Their IT was, resource strapped, so cloud solution made more sense. And so the results that they've experienced is tremendous. Overhead decreased by 45%, 6-figure savings. They're basically down to just one manager and a clerk. Departments can pull copies of their own invoices when they need to. Their approval process is faster. The auditors love it. Staff spends close to no time preparing for audits. And also the implementation had some indirect benefits as well, including, the employees are happier, so there was a boost in employee morale. It's really user-friendly. And, they're able to capture early payment discounts, which was just kind of icing on the cake for them. So hopefully these case studies were helpful for you to see how other companies have solved the challenges. And as you can see, there's really not one solution that fits all. Yet people ask us early on in the conversation, okay, well, what do you recommend? How much is it going to cost? As you probably know by now, we really need to dig in and understand your environment and your needs. There are some insights we've gained and kind of some high-level info I could share. First of all, if the initiative is enterprise-wide, take a look at a product called Laserfish. Not to be confused with Microfiche, which, by the way, is where we first started back in 1968. If the initiative is AP only and you're interested in automating payment, then take a look at a product called Avid Exchange. That's definitely the go-to product. And I'll take a minute to introduce each of these companies in the next slide. In either case, whichever way you go, as it relates to invoice capture, definitely we recommend, trust that to the experts. You're going to get the highest quality images and the most accurate data in the shortest turnaround because the vendor is going to be contractually obligated to deliver those results to you. And in our case, we guarantee those results. And you can't get that out of your own staff. So, and lastly, some of you may find that either because of preference or budget or resources that it's better to take those baby steps and crawl before you walk or run, and just start off with a document management system and just scanning invoices at the end of the process. At least, it's a step in the right direction, and then it'll prepare you for greater automation in the future. And we can take care of that for you. We can take care of all the scanning, or we can set you up with a system where you can do your own scanning and manage that yourself. That's pretty kind of simple to manage. So those are kind of some of our expert recommendations. People on webinars are always kind of looking for, give me that info now. So we like to provide that. So let me introduce some of those companies that I just mentioned. Laserfish is a great partner. We've been a partner with them since 2004. We're one of their top partners worldwide. They're based in Long Beach, California. They have over 35,000 companies using the software globally. And their main claim to fame is really being a very easy-to-use software that is driven by a powerful workflow tool that it can be used in a shared services environment. And what I mean by that is the same tool can be used to automate AP, HR, contract management, and other key business processes. Very highly rated by the analysts. Just a great company and a great product. Avid Exchange is another great partner. They're based in Charlotte, North Carolina. They've been at it for 15 years now. And they're more of a pure play AP automation and payment automation provider. And they have over 40 out-of-the-box integrations with 40 accounting systems. Some of them are listed there. And likely whatever you're using is an out-of-the-box integration they have as well. So two great companies. And in the beginning of this webinar, I stated that our goal was to give you actionable takeaways so that you can make the best decision, allowing you to stop manual data entry and eliminate paper invoices within 45 days. And, I wasn't kidding. I mean, I know that might sound like a dream or like it's impossible, but that's what we do for our clients. We do that with our 45-day implementation guarantee. So just think about it. I mean, you could literally never have to touch another paper invoice in less than 2 months. How amazing would that be? I'm just going to take a quick drink of water here. Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground, folks, but this is really just the beginning, and there are a lot more questions to consider here. For instance, how will the implementation be executed? What does the project plan look like? What exactly does our IT need to do? How do we get our vendors on board with our new solution? How do we establish benchmarks and measure? And what is that integration going to look like with our accounting system? And how do we calculate our cost per invoice? And these are all very important questions that need to be answered. And you can certainly attempt to do it on your own. And we have many tools like the cost per invoice calculator. So we can certainly help you, support you in that. But also, again, I do want to offer a kind of a free, no strings attached consultation where we really help you get clarity on all these items. And here's how it works. Basically, we regularly conduct these AP assessments where they'll bring us in. Usually, I'm personally involved with that. We'll come in for an on-site consultation where we'll map your current process. We'll help you understand your current costs, issues, and gaps. Help you envision what the benefits and savings would be. Put it all together in a cost-benefit analysis. including a budget for what a solution or a variety of solutions and services might look like. And then also provide a custom tailored demonstration. If we feel we're a good fit for you, we can provide a custom tailored demonstration. So as I mentioned in the beginning, this is typically a paid engagement. So while I would love to offer this to everybody who's on the webinar today, in reality, we only have so many hours in a day. Therefore, we can only extend it to the first 5 companies that are really interested in this and who signed up now. So you can, the lines are open, as they say. So you can literally go to web.amipaperless.com/APA right now if you're interested, and go ahead and sign up to secure your spot. I want you to know that there's not going to be any heavy sales pressure to buy anything or to work with us. Now, some of you may decide that you do want to hire us and work with us, but that'll be completely your decision. All I want to do is provide you a lot of value, answer your questions, show you some ways that you could be smarter and more strategic about your AP situation. So that's really it. That was kind of the goodie bag at the end. With that, we conclude today's presentation. I really want to thank you all for attending. I know we're presenting to a group of finance and accounting experts who love numbers, and some of you might be thinking, well, wait a minute, the slide was 5 essentials to consider, and hopefully you like that we've under-promised and over-delivered. That's kind of one of our core values. Hopefully you found this valuable, and you've had at least 5 nuggets to consider as you think about how to improve cash management through AP automation. We do have the next webinar in the series, which is going to be next month, where we'll be providing a demonstration of the Avid software. You'll be getting an email about this, but if you're interested, again, I'm putting up the link here. It's web.amipaperless.com/APA-August, where we'll take just 30 minutes to show you a quick demo of the Avid software, Avid Exchange. And then on the next slide, I'm going to go ahead and just put up some of those links in case I was going a little too fast. Here is more or less everything that we've kind of covered so far. And with that, I'll turn it over to Diana. I think my part here is done, and let's go ahead and open it up to any questions.
All right. Thanks, George. We actually do have a lot of questions. Let me recalibrate real quick and open this up. So, okay. So we have a question from Rachel. She'd like to know, so do we need an in-house IT person or new servers to handle this?
Okay, great question. So as far as an in-house IT, no, this is not the kind of system where you need a dedicated administrator. Like with a lot of ERP systems like Oracle, you need a whole team or people, or at least a person to manage it. If you buy the on-premise version, it generally just gets added to the list of softwares that maybe somebody internally keeps an eye on, but we play a pretty active role in that. If you go with the cloud system, you absolutely don't need servers or any IT person. If you go with the on-premise, obviously you will need a server. Many times we can work with a virtual environment and leverage your existing servers. IT has, I don't want to get too technical here, but in general, if you go with on-premise, you'll need some kind of a hardware environment. And if you go in the cloud, you won't need any servers whatsoever.
Okay. Any follow-up question to that? Okay. Don't see any response. I'm going to move on to the next question. So the next question is regarding pricing. Could you please give a general overview of how the pricing is structured?
Sure. Do you have another hour? Unfortunately, we can't. I can't just kind of spit off a quick pricing. What I can say is that it really depends on a variety of factors. It depends on your goals, your requirements, your invoice volume is a big driver, right? So a solution for a company that's only doing 10,000 invoices a year is going to be different than a solution for a company doing 1,000,000 invoices a year. Depending on whether you go with on-premise or cloud, it's a different model, right? If you go on-premise, you're buying software, the capital expenditure, you're acquiring a lot of that and paying for it up front with a small, maybe, maintenance agreement on a subsequent year basis. Whereas if you go with the cloud system, it's more of a, there's no capital expenditure, and you're paying basically a subscription to use it every month. So unfortunately, without more information, I can't give pricing, but we do have a pretty quick way of getting to that. So if that person's interested, I think, Diana, you're going to put up a kind of a follow-up poll at the end. If you indicate that you're interested, generally within a half-hour conversation with some questions that we ask, we can understand what your situation is and then give you some budgetary numbers.
Okay. All right. So the next question is actually regarding the assessment process. And as we mentioned, we actually have 5 to give away today, and I already saw 4 people requesting it. So if there's, if you really feel like you're ready for this, request that consultation or that assessment. So the question we have here is, how is the assessment process conducted, and who has to be involved in the assessment process to make this more efficient?
Sure, that's a great question. So at a high level, basically what we'll do is we have an initial planning call that takes about 30 minutes. So on that call will be everybody that is going to really be part of it. So typically we might have somebody like a controller and a CFO on the call from the client side, and from our side we'll have myself and the account manager that's going to be working with that customer. And that's kind of a planning call where we lay out the timing and the next steps. And then really, generally, depending on the complexity of the organization, in 1 or 2 on-site deep dive meetings that last anywhere from 1 to 3 hours each, we're able to get all the info we need to create the assessment report, which includes everything that we talked about, the cost-benefit analysis, which shows how much it's costing you today to do it in the way you are versus what the benefit would be if you went with one of the various solutions. And it's something that typically has the payback and ROI information that a CFO would want to look at.
Okay. Any follow-up to that? Okay, so I was basically taking some chat questions, and I do see an audio question from Kreider Gavali. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. But George, I will now unmute the line and let Kreider ask his question.
Okay, great.
Here we go. Kreider, your line is unmuted.
Hello.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. Actually, my doubt is clear. I was just looking for the fees. Or what is the fees for this?
I'm sorry. Could you repeat that one more time? You were looking for what now?
No, my doubt is clear. I was just looking for the fee structure. What is cost of the
Okay, you were looking for pricing information, and
yeah.
And okay.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, so hopefully I kind of addressed what I could on this call, and then if you're interested, we can follow up and get into a little bit more detail. We have a kind of like a quick questionnaire, as I mentioned. We can even send that to you in advance, let you gather some of that info, just kind of asks a little bit about how many invoices per month, how many checks per month, how many approvers do you have, what are the percentage of PO, how many PO versus non-PO invoices. Like basically, in summary, what I covered, we boiled it down to, I think, like 7 or 8 questions. We can send that to you, you answer those, send it back to us, and then we can jump on a call and quickly go through some options. So we have kind of the high-level overview version, which is what I just described, and then we have the deep dive version, which is the AP assessment. Any other questions, Diana?
No, Carter, if you don't have any follow-up questions, I'm going to go ahead and mute your line and see if we have any other questions. So is that good to go?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. All right, let's see if we have any other questions. I've pretty much covered all of the chat questions. We have that one audio question. I don't see anything as of this point, so I'll take the opportunity to just remind you real quick to take advantage of the AP assessment if you haven't done so already. If you feel like you're not ready for the AP assessment yet, I will post up a poll after our webinar is done, and you can, if you feel like you're ready for a next step and you just want more information, or you're not ready for the assessment yet, just choose the appropriate option, and we will contact you if you need. Okay, we actually have another question, George. So
Okay.
How many invoices should we currently be processing to see a considerable ROI?
That's a good question. That always seems to come up. So, what we find is generally you got to have at least 1,000 just to even, have kind of a meaningful conversation. But really 2,000 and up. And then also, there's got to be, a couple clerks, right? Because a lot of the savings is labor savings. So, if you only have one person doing AP, then, you can implement the best system, but you're still going to need that one person. So those are kind of on the low end. Generally, if you have an environment where there's, 5 to 10 clerks or more, and you're doing, 4,000 or 5,000 invoices a month or more, definitely the more the merrier, because you're going to get a much bigger benefit.
Okay. So actually a follow-up question to that from Brian is, when you say 1,000 invoices, is that on a monthly basis?
Yes, 1,000 invoices a month.
Okay. Great. And so with that said, I'm going to go ahead and release the last poll. Seems like we're actually right on time. I'm going to go ahead and release this poll real quick. So take some time to.
Yeah, as you're releasing that, I just want to thank everybody again. Go ahead and you take a second to respond to this last poll that Diana's putting up. It gives us some feedback on kind of what everybody thought and where they're at. We don't want to bombard you with any calls and follow up with you if you're not interested, or if you were just trying to get some information for today, or if you thought this was a horrible use of your time and you want the hour back, then we definitely won't follow up with you. But if you felt like you learned a couple things and you'd like to get more information, just let us know, and we'll follow up and would love to help you. We kind of, live and breathe this process of simplifying work and eliminating paper, especially in AP, as we talked about. And again, I want to thank you for attending. Please make your final poll selection and have a wonderful rest of your summer.
All right, thank you, George. I will go ahead and close the poll now, and there will be actually a follow-up survey. If you could fill that out, it's always great to have feedback from our audience on things we can improve. If you have any feedback you'd like to leave, take the chance to fill out that survey. And don't forget to take advantage and register for the upcoming webinar, which will be really hands-on, and we'll show you how we apply all of this, put it into action. And just to remind you, that is on August 12th. Look out for the email, and you can also find that directly at web.amipaperless.com/AP-August. Go ahead and register, and it was really nice having all of you guys here. If there aren't any more questions, we're going to go ahead and let all of you go to lunch or continue the rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.